You're forgetting faster than you're learning. Every podcast, every article, every late-night insight that felt like it could change everything, gone within 48 hours. Your brain is a leaky bucket, and you keep pouring more water into it. By the end of this, you'll understand a system that turns scattered information into a personal engine for thinking, creating and making decisions faster than anyone around you. Here's what most people do. They consume endlessly books, videos, courses, threads. They highlight passages and screenshot quotes and save bookmarks into folders they'll never reopen. The consumption feels productive. It mimics the shape of learning. But 6 months later, when they need that one idea for a project or a conversation or a decision, they can't find it. They can't even remember where they saw it. So they start from zero. Again, the system that fixes this has a name. It's called a second brain. And the core principle is deceptively simple. Stop treating your notes as a graveyard and start treating them as a workshop. Think about how a chef works. A chef doesn't memorize every recipe. A chef builds a mise en place, ingredients prepped, organized within arm's reach. When an order comes in, the chef assembles. Speed comes from preparation, from having the right pieces already cut and sorted. Your notes should work the same way. Every piece of information you capture should be prepped for future use, not archived for imaginary review. So what does this actually look like in practice? The system runs on 4 stages: capture, organize, distill, express. Each one feeds the next, and skipping any of them is where most people's note-taking falls apart. Capture is where everyone starts, and where most people stop. You read something that resonates, a line from a book, a framework from a talk, a quote that reframes how you think about a problem. You save it. Good. But the question that separates a functional second brain from a digital junk drawer is this: are you capturing what resonates? Or are you capturing everything? The filter matters more than the volume. A researcher named Vannevar Bush wrote about this problem back in 1945, before computers were in homes, before the internet existed. He described a future device he called a memex that would store and connect all of a person's documents and notes. His insight was ahead of the technology by decades. But the principle he identified still holds. The value of stored information is proportional to your ability to retrieve it when you need it. Dumping 300 highlights from a book into a folder doesn't make you smarter, it makes you a hoarder with a search bar. So you capture selectively. You save what surprises you, what contradicts something you believed, what connects to a project you're actively working on. Everything else, you let go. That's the first muscle most people have never trained, the willingness to let information pass through you without grabbing it. Now, the captured notes need a home, and this is where organization either saves you or buries you. Most people organize by source. A folder for books, a folder for articles, a folder for podcasts. Neat, logical, useless. Because when you're working on a presentation about pricing in that one book, you think, I need ideas about pricing. Your brain searches by project, by question, by problem. Your notes should be organized the same way. The approach that works groups notes by actionability. What project will this serve? What area of my life does this support? If it doesn't connect to anything you're doing or responsible for, it goes into a resource folder, still accessible, but out of the way. And if it doesn't even qualify as a resource, you archive it, out of sight, gone from the workspace. That kitchen metaphor from earlier holds up. The ingredients you're using tonight sit on the counter. Staples you use weekly stay in the pantry. Specialty items go in the back, and expired food gets thrown out. Most people's note systems look like a kitchen where every ingredient they've ever bought is spread across the counter. No wonder they can't cook. The third stage is where the real leverage lives. Distillation. You've captured a note, you filed it somewhere useful. But it's still in someone else's words. It's still a raw quote, or a pasted paragraph. When you encounter that note 6 months from now, you'll have to reread the entire thing, reconstruct the context, and figure out why you saved it. That's friction. And friction kills systems. Distillation means processing the note until it's yours. You bold the key sentences. You write a one-line summary at the top in your own words. You ask yourself, what is the core idea here, and how does it connect to what I already know? This takes 60 seconds per note, maybe 90. and it transforms a passive highlight into an active piece of your thinking. A physicist named Richard Feynman built his entire reputation on a version of this. His notebooks weren't organized by topic or textbook. They were organized by problems he was trying to solve. When he encountered a new technique or theorem, he'd immediately try to apply it to one of his open problems. The information wasn't stored for storage's sake. It was stress-tested against real questions. That's distillation in action, running new information through the filter of your own thinking until it belongs to you. Here's the part where most productivity systems fail, though. They stop at organization. They treat the system as the product. You end up with a beautiful, perfectly tagged, cross-referenced archive of notes that you never actually use to make anything. The fourth stage, expression, is the only one that generates value in the world. Expression means using your notes to create something: a presentation, an email, a decision, a conversation, a piece of writing. The second brain exists to serve output. Every note you capture should eventually flow into something you ship. And this creates a feedback loop that makes the whole system self-sustaining. When you use your notes to write an article, you discover gaps in your thinking. Those gaps tell you what to capture next. Your consumption becomes targeted. Your reading list stops being a random pile of recommendations and starts being a deliberate search for missing pieces. You read differently when you know what you're building. A question worth sitting with: what have you created in the last 30 days using anything you've consumed in the last 6 months? If the answer is close to nothing, consumption has become entertainment dressed up as self-improvement. The system exists to close that gap. Now, a reality check. Building a second brain requires a tool, and the tool doesn't matter nearly as much as the internet wants you to believe. People spend weeks comparing apps. Notion versus Obsidian versus Roam versus Apple Notes. They customize templates. They watch setup videos. They design color-coded databases. And then they never actually capture a meaningful note because the system itself became the project. Pick something. Anything you'll actually open daily. A plain text file works if you'll use it. The fanciest app in the world fails if it stays closed. The system lives in the habit, not the software. Start with 10 notes. Capture one thing per day that genuinely surprised you or connected to work you're doing. File it by project. Write a one-line summary at the top. Use it within 2 weeks. Critics of this approach raise a fair point. Externalizing memory could weaken your ability to think without tools. If every insight lives in an app, what happens when you're in a meeting without your phone, or in a conversation where you can't search your notes? The concern is legitimate. The human brain consolidates information during sleep, during walks, during unstructured thinking. A second brain that replaces all internal processing would be a crutch, and crutches create dependency. The answer is that the second brain handles storage and retrieval, the tasks your biological brain does worst. Your biological brain handles pattern recognition, synthesis, and creative leaps, the tasks no app can touch. The system works because it divides labor along the natural fault line between what computers do well and what humans do well. You still need to think. You just stop wasting cognitive energy trying to remember where you put things. The people who get the most from this system share one trait. They treat their notes as a conversation with their future self. Every note is a message sent forward in time. The summary at the top is a courtesy to the version of you who'll find this note in 8 months, under pressure, needing an answer fast. That future version won't remember the context, won't remember the book, won't remember why this mattered. Your job right now is to make it obvious. You've spent years pouring information into a brain that was designed to forget. The fix requires about 5 minutes a day and a fundamental shift in how you think about knowledge. Information you consume and forget is entertainment. Information you capture, distill, and deploy is leverage. Your move. 1 note today. Make it count.